Okay, this is just insane. This is of 303 new glyphs in the Nazca area. More than half were suggested by AI, revealing the power of this tool to assist in human-led research. This is what AI is looking at. And then look at what it comes up with. That's insanity. This is, I have people all the time saying, oh, this is a giant this and this is a giant that. I show things from space and you can see them that they are what they are. This is just nonsense. And this is about all these new giant glyphs. Hundreds of mysterious glyphs. Maybe they are. Some of them, do they look like that? I don't think so. They're not that clear. Let me put it that way. Now, here's the thing. It says, the glyphs have been difficult to uncover for several reasons. One of these is they were first carved, they're talking somewhere around 500 BC to 500 CE, and they weathered over hundreds of years and greatly reduced their detectability. Now, I don't disagree. There are things in the Nazca that they can see pretty clearly that have not eroded significantly, and they can make them out pretty clearly. But this stuff here, this is just insanity. To say that that is this, that's just not, that AI, forget about that. That's crazy. Now, this is just absolute nonsense, that is going to turn into this. Complete nonsense. Look what I show, and they refuse to even examine it. This is Typhon. That's a dragon in the desert over in Morocco. You say, oh, Roger, that's crazy. Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Here's what he looks like, if you knew what his face and his eye and his throat and everything look like, and he's spitting that stuff out of the giant fish. Maybe that is crazy, maybe it's not. Let's take another look. There he is right here. There's his red flared eye. There's his dragon-scaled throat. There's his big bump on his nose, and there's all that stuff spitting down at the fish. You say, what fish, Roger? So, well, I'm glad you asked. Maybe it is this fish right here. And he runs the entire length of North Africa, just as it shows in the ancient maps. Dismissed. Everything is dismissed, and they're looking around for little bits and pieces of rocks laying around it they can make into something. That I laugh at people that send me things that, oh, look at it, I found all this. Show me something that's like this. Show me something that you can even home in on. And see dragon scales running down his whole entire throat. Scale, scale, scale. These are dragon scales, my friends. If you don't see that, you have a problem with you, not with me. You have a problem with you. Plus, I want to know if there's an avian person can tell me what inside of a reptile has this coming down their throat. See these things? There's something going on here. Whether they're there's something feeding out of that little organ there, whatever this organ is. It's feeding into these pockets. And that's coming right down his throat. Here's his head. I showed you his head before. That's his head right there. All the way up around. There's his red flared eye. You see that? It's exactly what is written in Apollodorus. And he is attacking the fish right down here. And I was looking at a bunch of different things up here in a fish's fin. There's something was going on up in here. They were doing some kind of stuff. I don't know what, but there's this thing with the numbers around that little round spot. This was on Mr. MBB 333 the other day. And then I found a whole batch of stuff out here where there's things you can't explain. And there's no tracks really leading up to them. A lot of these things, they're not explored. What they're doing there, who knows? But these are the kind of things they should be looking at. Instead, they're looking at scraps of dirt laying around there and trying to make something out of it. Let's make something out of this, because this, we know, there's a history on this. And the history is that his throat was cut by Zeus with his great and mighty sword, swoosh, right across there. And that black and red is the indication of blood. This stuff is just fluids running out of a dead, decaying body. His body runs all the way from here, all the way down his neck, to his body proper, His legs, they said, were human in shape at thighs. His tail runs all the way out to here. And there's more dragon scales here. I mean, it is what it is. And this was written about, and there is no way to dismiss this if you look at it, but they won't look at it. Whatever they don't want, they don't look. You don't look, you don't see. And that's what they want. Just go, I don't want to see. Well, in 1375, they weren't hiding from the truth. There he is right there. There's his head. His whole dragon-scaled body runs all the way across North Africa, exactly as it still does. This was a very, very detailed map. And of course, the Red Sea is over here. And they knew all the things that we've been refused to know. And the reason is, in my opinion, is it because academia has taken over and made everybody now a slave. You're not free. You're not free to speak your mind and to be free to think. No, absolutely not. And you really, they want to force you to pay them to get a piece of paper that says you've been indoctrinated and now you can go out in society and make some money. If you don't have that piece of paper, head to the fields. Head out there and pick things and do the menial jobs, which they're not menial, they're good jobs. But they treat them that way. They say, oh, you want to go do that stuff, be just one of the working class slobs. Don't you want to be important like us? So you have to come to our schools, pay us, and then say exactly what we tell you, and then you can go and be a proper member of society. That, my friends, is the most devious way of taking over society I've ever seen. And I can see it. It's absolutely no question that's what's going on. And as far as I'm concerned, the immortal ones that were very, very bad and were the bad gods, which they were immortal. They're here. They're somewhere here. And I think they're living behind the ivy-covered walls, because that is exactly what I found. No tolerance for truth. And it's been always written in the past. And which is going to bring me to my next video about prophecy. What's prophesized is real or not real? Is prophecy a license to just deceive? Think about it carefully, because I've been talking to a few people about this. Oh, no, you got to go with prophecy. Well, people don't even know what prophecy is. Revelations, I don't think is future prophecy. I think it's happened. And I'll show you why I say that, because of the dragon and the lady. But anyway, that's another video coming up. But we're just being deceived by the ones we trusted. And it's really a tragedy, and it's going on and on and on and on. It'll never stop. They destroyed Velikovsky in 1950, and they've destroyed everything I've done. They've destroyed basically everything anybody's done that is not, just mouthing exactly what they tell you to say. You just say something different, and they run and hide. It's even like I see all these researchers in down South America and everything, and I posted the other day, said, what about this? I said, oh, I don't know. And that's all they say. Nothing, no words, no questions, no nothing. It's just, have a nice day. And I asked one of the big explorers about this. I said, what do you make of this? It looks like this was all soft and it's sunk in. It looks like it's a machine of some sort, obviously. And they were cutting slabs with this. And what about this one? I also asked about this one here. These walls that they made in the background, they were obviously cutting slabs off of here and transporting them down there. But they were still wet when they were doing it. That's why these walls all fit together so perfectly. And I know what this is made out of. And I want somebody to discuss it. They won't discuss it. It was obviously wet when they cut them. And then they put them on these walls. Why they did it, I don't know. What the walls were for, no idea. But they did it with machines that when this stuff was still wet before it turned hard stone, they cut them off of here and they moved them back there and they just plopped them up and they just sort of settled into position. That's why you can't put a piece of paper between them. These are the kind of things they won't discuss. We're being I don't know how you look at it, but when a academic professor or a researcher or even an explorer says, I don't want to talk about this stuff. I don't want to talk about that. No. I just want to talk about finding little bits and pieces of things and trying to make it into something. No, I want to see the real things. I want to see the actual physical evidence. I want to see the throat. I want to see the dragon scales. I want to see the spit coming down to try to kill this giant fish, which was all written about in the ancient texts. This was Ares. The gods turned themselves into animals when Typhon attacked them. And this was Ares. And Pan, who was one of the Titans, tempted Typhon to come out with a banquet of fish. That's what was written. And he was trying to eat that fish, it looks like to me. And these are all things that were written in the past, and these are all things that are supported. And they go looking into Nazca lines and all that other stuff, and anything you don't want to see, it's just not there. It's just like it isn't even there. Yes, it's not there. I don't see anything. It's not there. I can't explain it. I just can't explain the mentality of the ones that we trusted to be the teachers. You know, they have complete trust by their students. They have to. And the students have to repeat what they're told to say in order to pass the grade, to get that piece of paper. It's not right. And I bring it up to the point of being a disgrace now, because there's no question that they know about this is true. This has been 10 years. I have all the evidence of DNA, I have CAT scans, I have everything. And Yale also agrees that this perfect fossilization is possible, and that this has happened, and happened because of silica-rich floods that were on Earth. And it was a Triassic era. The whole Earth was destroyed at one time. 3 layers all around the whole Earth. Ocean. It said they were under ocean events. Well, what does that mean? The whole Earth was an ocean because it was flooded. And the silica came up from underneath and made everything turn solid as stone. And Yale agrees with that 100%. Same thing, exactly what I told them. And I told them. And they told me I was crazy. And I said, no, you're crazy. And then my last words with Yale was, when this is all over, you're going to be... you're going to look like idiots or something like that. And my friend over there, who was the only guy that would ever talk to me there, said, well, I guess we won't be the only one. Armand, remember that, buddy? And you will. You're going to be look like idiots, and way worse. Way worse. I mean, I can't see anything you could say other than dismissal of truth, which, I don't know, some people might call that fraud. I don't know. If I was a student there, I wouldn't be happy about knowing that they refused to examine anything like this. They refused to examine the DNA, the CAT scans, the specimens, everything. And that was Derek Briggs, and he's the one that wrote the paper that took credit for exceptionally preserved fossilization. So, I mean, that's just the truth. If I had gone to Yale for working with Professor Briggs there, I would ask for my money back, because you know, you put your faith in him, and it was misplaced. Badly misplaced. All right, I love you all. Bye. All right, it's misplaced trust right across the board. When I discovered the Mudfossils, I presented all this information to Yale long before 2016, long before. I had DNA and tests and CAT scans and specimens and all this stuff long before this. And Derek Briggs turned me away and refused to engage whatsoever. And the first thing he said to me is, what are you, a creationist? I said, what is that supposed to mean? They were attacking everybody back then because it was coming forth. And they crushed it. They absolutely crushed it, and he's one of the crushers. Now, this was paid for by NASA, who I also talked to about this fossilization, because it's on Mars as well. The Mars crab, the Mars blueberries, and the Mars Morse code. Look them up, check them out. That is biology, again, refused by the ones we trusted, NASA. It's across the board, 100%. Now, they're explaining it precisely. This is basically the same paper that I wrote, and I presented to them about the silica-rich oceans and about the worldwide flood, the Triassic era, the red bed, the gray clay, the black cap, all of this stuff. And they actually changed the name of geology at Yale after this whole thing. They changed it in 2020, they changed it to planetary science or something. And then they show a big picture of a mud fossil. See, this even AI knows what I do. Roger Spur is known for research related to the fossilization process, particularly focusing on the role of fascia. That was my paper. Facilitating the fossilization. His work suggests that the soft tissue of organisms, specifically the connective tissue, can contribute to the preservation of fossils. Well, there's a lot of different aspects to it, but I wrote the original paper was fascia-facilitated because everything that I have found is coated with the membranes that surrounded it, disassembled from the bodies of creatures. So anyway, it's specifically connective tissues can contribute to the preservation of fossils. This challenges traditional views to emphasize only hard parts like bones and shells in fossils formation. Fascia may help preserve the overall structure and details of the organization, providing valuable insights into ancient life forms. Spur's research contributes to a deeper understanding of the conditions necessary for fossilization and the potential for preserving soft tissues in fossils record. If you're interested in more aspects, feel free to ask. Well, let me show you my paper I wrote. And the paper I finally wrote, I had to put it somewhere because all I wanted to do was put it up and somebody could pay attention to it and I'd be off the case. Nobody did. Nobody paid attention. So that's how I got so deeply involved in this. And I'm upset because we are being misled by the ones we trusted. This is a disgrace. Here's a few papers I did here. Fascia-facilitated fossilization, fascia and a solvomorphism. And then it comes on other stuff about different fascia. Nobody was even paying attention to the fascia when I started. Even the doctors, they didn't understand it. And then came out a paper about the fascia and the fluid-filled highway that is part of the fascia system. But anyway, this is the paper I wrote in 2015. Yeah, 2015. Fascia-facilitated fossilization. This whole thing is basically the same paper that Yale wrote. That I gave to Derek Briggs. They know about this. And here it is. It comes. All of these fascia come together as one giant system. All right, and it's 50 times the silicon, and theirs was silicon-rich waters or whatever, something. And it goes on, just read the thing. It's very simple. Fascia-facilitated fossilization, Roger Spur, on academia.edu. And when I first started, it appears fascia may be more than simple fuzz. The first guys I talked to had no idea. They said, that's just gooey stuff that's in the body. It's like padding. I said, no. Something else is going on here. Because I could see all of it. They couldn't see it because by the time they got it, it was flat. All the fluid leaked out of it, and they thought it was a dense sheet. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. This is unbelievable, but it's true. And I said, this is not just one sheet. And it's a fluid-filled highway somewhere in here, it says it. Somewhere in the fluids. But, the whole thing, I got crushed on this because nobody wanted to hear about it because it wasn't what they were saying at Yale. And Yale's just wrong. And then to take my work and present it as their own and get funding from NASA and everybody else, it's just a disgrace. The whole system is way out of control. We need congressional investigation right across the board of our national laboratories, academic institutions. Right now, I see everything as usury. It's not education. This is not science. I don't see that anymore. I see funding as the main purpose of everything. And I take courses literally everywhere because I went through Coursera, which it was free. You could go, they didn't give you a piece of paper, but you could listen to what they had to say, and they would actually engage with you. And I went to the University of Geneva for particle physics, and I engaged with them, and I showed them that we could see the particles. And they finally just said, wow, that's interesting. We'll follow you on Facebook. I said, well, can't you look into this using light instead of protons? And they said, well, we'll follow you on Facebook. And I said, okay, good. What are you going to do? That's the kind of system we're up against. It's a denial of science, my friends. It's not science for science sake, it's science for money's sake. And you see this? They changed the name of the geology, and they changed it now to the Department of Earth and Planetary Sciences to more reflect reality. Not to, and look at the picture they put up here. It's a mud fossil. These are all layers of tissue. That isn't layers of erosion. This is layers of tissue from gigantic creatures I told Derek Briggs about. And the thing was, as soon as I mentioned there was giants, it was all over. You know, they don't want anybody to know about this. They don't want anybody to know about God. You probably haven't ever heard about the fascia-facilitated fossilization papers because they just quieted it down and then shut the whole thing down so nobody understood. This is back to 2016, exceptional preservation. And they claim that it happened before. A big part of the answers is how these fossils formed. Now they're saying they were all before evolution. There was no creatures here before this. That's what they're saying. There was no shells, no teeth, no bones. That is complete nonsense. And it is, in my opinion, not to have looked at my evidence that supports that this is totally wrong. Indicates some really disastrous issue with Yale. And I sent this to not just the Briggs, I sent it to everybody at Yale, right up to the president. I even sent it to their legal department. And I said, I want this thing taken care of. You people are fiduciary failures. You're misleading the students. You're taking money from NASA and everybody else on work that I already did. And this is just a fact. I'm just making a fact. Somebody want to complain to me? Complain. Do whatever you want. I want truth. And you're not getting it now, my friends. You are not getting it now. And if nobody stands up, it will never be done because they own you right now. They own you. Academia owns society. They are the ones that are the real problem with society, is academia now. I call it PhD-olia. They say, oh, you're seeing these crazy things. You got paradiola or whatever they call it. I said, well, maybe you got PhD-olia. You can't see what's right in front of your face. And that is a fact, my friends. And this has distressed me for the last 15 years, and I see no relief in sight.